good evening and welcome. This is Science Fiction Snob, and I'm just going to talk today a bit about some box office numbers for Star Wars. So this is based on the High Council of July 10th, with hosted by comic artist Pro Secrets. So there's a discussion about partway in where everybody gangs up on Jeremy about the numbers and the reasons why some of the movies are doing worse than before. There's a discussion about that and a bunch of crosstalk. I'm going to look at the numbers, the box office numbers, not DVD numbers, anything like that, just box office numbers, domestic box office, and try to see who's right, or if we can even determine if anyone's right. So just to to summarize the discussion, Jeremy makes the point that the Force Awakens did well at the box office, and the others counter that. It does well for certain reasons, such as nostalgia. No one knew, they were hankering for Star Wars. They didn't, it's the first Disney Star Wars movie, and it was bound to do well no matter what. So those are opinions. I don't really, you can't. I don't know if I can pull out numbers that can, refute any of those opinions. But let's look at some numbers and see if we can come to some conclusions. So first of all, the information that I got for the numbers are from the website www.thenumbers.com, which is where all about the movie business and what they have there. You should be able to see it up on the screen right now. So we've got a nice little graph. And the numbers that I'm going to use, I'm looking at the opening weekend versus the second weekend, and looking at the fall off. So what I did for that is, you can see on the chart there, it's got the opening weekend information is all there. And what I did was I looked at the using the chart above it. I looked at day 10, assuming a 3-day weekend and then 7 more days. So day 10 would be the end of the second weekend. So now we can just look at the little spreadsheet that I've put up here. So let's look at the information. So the first column, we've got domestic gross, how much they made domestic as per that website, and then what they made the opening weekend. So looking at The Force Awakens, so it made 26% of all the money it made domestically, it made on the opening weekend. You can see all the other numbers. Solo made it's 40%. Last Jedi 35%, Rogue One to 29%. So then we have the next column's got the second weekend grosses from that. The second weekend totals, and then the gross, which is just simply subtracting the opening weekend from the second weekend to find the second weekend gross. So second weekend gross includes anything from day 4 up to day 10, of course, obviously. So next column is your interesting one, percentage drop. So you can see that from that The Last Jedi dropped 32%. That's the total gross from the opening weekend to the second weekend gross. So first 3 days, how much it made, and then day 4 to day 10, how much it made, and it dropped. So Last Jedi drops 32% domestic numbers. In the video, I think Jeremy says something like 36%. I think that may be the total gross for worldwide. So this is just domestic. So Last Jedi minus 32%. Solo only dropped 23%, which is not great, but not as bad as The Last Jedi. Rogue One 15%, and The Force Awakens actually went up 17%. It's got a positive number of 17%. So it actually, it's not surprising, considering that the second weekend gross includes day 4 to day 10. So it's not that surprising that it might make more money than just the first 3 days. But it beats the numbers from the other. It's actually a positive number as opposed to the others, which are negative. Now, the last column in my little chart here is the percentage drop from the previous movies. So that compares The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, considering that those are two movies in a series, and then Rogue One and Solo, considering those are the Solo, the off movies. So The Last Jedi, its total percentage is it's not actually percentage drop. That's how much percentage it made. So Last Jedi made 66% of what The Force Awakens made total, and then Solo made only 39% of what Rogue One made. So that's really quite a far drop. So what do all these numbers mean? I'm not sure that we can come to any set conclusions about who is right or wrong based on these numbers. Maybe you have to look at the Blu-ray sales. Maybe you need to add in the toy merchandise, all that stuff. I think that we can conclude that the movies are definitely doing worse than they've been doing. I mean, you've got The Force Awakens at almost $1 billion gross, and then that's slowly going down. Well, in some cases, fast going down from there. The Last Jedi making only 66% of what The Force Awakens made. Now, somebody mentioned before, I can't remember who, that if you make a good movie, you should be building up from there. More people should want to see The Last Jedi than The Force Awakens. Force Awakens should go out, people see it, and they go, wow, this is a great movie, and they go tell their friends, and then when The Last Jedi comes out, more people who didn't see The Force Awakens, maybe bought it on Blu-ray or whatever, should be like, all right, well, now I want to get into this. I missed out on it the first time. I want to get in because it's that good. So the number should be going up for each movie. You would think, if they're building some hype and doing better, but the exact opposite is going on. So I think that is very problematic for the franchise, for certain. And if Disney's looking at these numbers, I mean, if they keep going the way they're going, I mean, what is Episode 9 going to make? Is it going to make 66% of what The Last Jedi made, domestically? That would put it somewhere around 400 million domestically. That's not good. And any other movie behind after Solo is going to be dead in the water. It's Solo already didn't make its money back. It's going to make even less. I think it's hard to say that. There's so many factors in making a movie. If the present Kathleen Kennedy and those guys are fired, that might give a bump to the next movie. Depends on a lot of stuff. If the next of the off movies, the Solos and the Rogue One, if it's about Boba Fett or Obi-Wan, that might build up a lot of interest, and maybe it'll be, depending on the director, maybe it'll be popular, maybe it'll go up. But I think they must be looking at these numbers and saying, wow, they're going the wrong way, and we have to do something to change this. So again, I don't know who's right. I don't know that we have necessarily enough data. Jeremy is right that The Force Awakens appears to be a success by any stretch of the imagination. Almost $1 billion. I will just give my own personal view. I saw The Force Awakens, and I didn't think it was a good movie, but I gave it a pass because I thought, all right, there's all these plot holes, but they will address them in the second and the third movie. Last Jedi comes out, and Rian Johnson takes a big steaming dump over all these plot holes. Rey is not, Rey is nobody's. Her parents are nobodies. She's great at everything. Why did they? It's not explained how she can beat Kylo Ren, and she's never learned how to use a lightsaber. All these things didn't address them. They didn't do anything. They just ignored them, and that sort of that made, going back looking at The Force Awakens, that made it worse for me. It I didn't think it was too bad, and after The Last Jedi, I'm like, wow, Force Awakens is really bad. It's worse. So I don't know how many people, felt that way. How many people got sucked in and, bought the DVDs, Blu-rays for The Force Awakens, saw the movies, and now think a lot less of it because The Last Jedi, didn't build on it. And that might be also, Jeremy made the point in his video about the Rotten Tomatoes score. That might also, have an effect on the Rotten Tomatoes score as well. People initially liked it, but now they're looking back and saying, wow, it's not good. But again, this is opinion. The numbers don't necessarily say that. All the numbers say is that the franchise is in trouble, and that it's going down, and it might continue that unless they do something to stop it. All right, thank you. I hope you found this video interesting and informative. And please, I'd love to hear in your comments, other thoughts about the box office. And if anybody wants to use this information, expand on it with the Blu-ray information, toy sales, or anything, please feel free to do so. Thanks. Good night.